Hello everyone, I am FPL Rondo and welcome back to the channel. So game week 2 wasn't our week, we didn't get the points that we were hoping for, but that's okay. I think going into game week 3 and onwards, my team is very fixable, and I have done some transfers already just to avoid some price changes, which I did post on Twitter last night. So the transfers for this week have already been done, and we'll go over that in this video. We're also going to go over the points that I did score and sort of the talking points, potential changes in the future as well, and we're going to go over all that in this video, so stay tuned and enjoy. So game week 2 didn't quite go to plan in the slightest. We only came out with 35 points. There were only some positives to take from this, as you can see from my team here. The majority were 1 or 2 pointers. Salah captain was the main positive for me because, as I said in my previous video, the main debate was the Haaland versus Salah captaincy, and Salah captainers did just about come out on top. Obviously, he did miss his penalty and then score the rebound. It is still a win, and there was a 6-point swing depending on who you captained, so that is something to take from this. Pervis Estupiñán of Brighton getting 11 points. He could have had that clean sheet if it wasn't for that sloppy goal conceded to Wolves in that 4-1 victory. It could have been way more points, but as his ownership is about 61%, it doesn't really affect my rank that much anyway, even though he did get such a high score, which is quite disappointing, but it's better to have him than to not have him, which would have drastically affected my rank, so it is at least a good thing in that sense. As you can see around the rest of the team, Matt Turner in goal getting 2 points. It was the exact same as Onana on my bench, who did also get 2 points. Gabriel, very disappointing, only getting the 1 point and coming on for about 20 minutes. It's just not great at all, and he is another one on the chopping board going into game week 3, because I just can't trust him in his minutes, even though obviously Tomiyasu did get that red card in the game just gone. His minutes might increase again going into the next week, but I just can't trust it anymore, and he just has to go, unfortunately. Ben Chilwell, getting subbed off at 60 minutes, and I believe getting a yellow card. No, just 2 goals conceded. Just another disappointing result, really, and not one that I want to be. It's just not ideal, but going forwards, hopefully he can sort of recover and Chelsea can improve defensively, because conceding 3 goals to a very average West Ham team who didn't make many signings this summer but sold off quite a few of their best players, they shouldn't really be conceding 3 in that type of game. And again, for Nicholas Jackson up front, getting 1 point there as well, just a stupid yellow card. It's not ideal, and from your Chelsea assets, you should usually be expecting more there. In the midfield, Eze getting 2 points. He is very, very, very close to being sold. Most likely will be after next week. I do know the fixtures do improve going forwards. Let's just have a look here. But yeah, their fixtures are Brentford, then Wolves, Aston Villa, Fulham, and then they've also got Nottingham Forest in between, a Manchester United and Newcastle away fixtures there. It's not ideal around there, but he still does have an improved fixture run coming up, which very well could increase his goal output. But yeah, for now, he's only had 5 points this season and has been the worst performing 6.5 million mid, and hopefully that can step up in the coming game weeks. Rashford and Saka getting 2 and 3 points respectively. Again, not ideal, and from your more premium assets who are on the penalties, free kicks, etc., you should be expecting more from them. Especially Rashford in that striker position, he has been very, very poor, and getting subbed off early in this game, I do believe, let's just check here, yeah, he only got 84 minutes, so he's not actually getting the full 90 either, so those last minute rushes to get a goal potentially and bring the game back, it's just not even possible with him in my team. So he is another one that I am potentially looking into selling in the coming weeks. Rashford, it is a bit more setback because obviously he is only 9 million compared to Salah's 12.5, so he doesn't take up as much funds as other premium assets, so he might stick around for a few more weeks just to see if they do pick up that form, and it does cover that Manchester United attack at least as well. Going over some other players now, and we have João Pedro getting 0 points. That was quite disappointing just based on We were expecting him to start that second game based off of his first week performance, obviously getting a goal from a penalty as well. So that does sort of show that when he is on the pitch anyway, he is going to be the penalty taker. So to not get started in that second game week was a bit disappointing. Obviously, we knew there was a risk there because it was a bit of an unknown. But yeah, we were expecting a few more minutes from him, especially after that first week performance. Wasn't the case, and it does show that De Zerbi is willing to rotate more than we were expecting. So yeah, I mean, João Pedro is one that might end up getting sold in the next few weeks. Obviously, their fixture run does get a bit tougher from now as well. So that is another thing to keep in mind there. So yeah, João Pedro is one to potentially avoid going forwards, but hopefully his minutes can pick up and he can pick up a few more goals. If not, he will probably be in the same position as Rashford and Eze, where we might look into potentially selling them in the near future, but not just yet. Chukwuemeka on the bench as well for Chelsea, getting 5 points and their only goal in that 3-1 defeat to West Ham. He did look quite good. His goal was fantastic, but obviously he ended up walking off with an injury afterwards as well. Not ideal, and obviously might be out for a few weeks. He is one person that I have actually sold just based on the fact of that injury and the fact that he isn't going to be guaranteed minutes anyway, now that they have Caicedo and Lavia working themselves into that Chelsea midfield alongside Enzo Fernandez. I don't think there's any room for Chukwuemeka once his injury is recovered from. So yeah, he's going to be one that is sold this week, and we will go over the transfers shortly. Obviously, Kabore and Bayer didn't actually end up having a fixture. I was not aware of this in advance, but I should have really looked more into it or planned more around it. It didn't end up being a problem anyway because Gabriel did play, so I did have 11 starting players on my team. Well, not starting, but 11 players who ended up getting somewhat points, apart from Pedro, who got the yellow card. So it not always lost there, and going forwards I will sort of keep that in mind. But yeah, the team overall did not have a great week, and we're going to get into transfers now. So as mentioned on Twitter last night, I have already made my transfers. I did take a -4 and also used the 2 free transfers. So I have brought 3 players in. The players I've sold are Mohamed Salah, Gabriel and Chukwuemeka. And I've brought in Bryan Mbeumo, Saliba and Martin Odegaard of Arsenal. I do think these were necessary in my situation, and I'll go over my decisions now. So Mohamed Salah is the first big talking point. So obviously I did have him captained in the week just gone, and he did get me 5 points, doubled to 10. Although he did get me good points and obviously was the best captaincy decision out of the 2 that I was thinking of, it didn't turn out as well as we wanted. Obviously, he did get a penalty. He missed it and then got the rebound, which does lead me to believe that he will be off of penalties going forward. He has missed 3 out of his last 5, I do think. I think that's the stat that's correct. So Salah, I can't see being on penalties any longer for Liverpool. And when you've got a premium asset like Salah in your team, you do expect them to be on the penalties, scoring all the goals and being the main person at that team. Liverpool currently are looking a bit rough and a bit shaky in both attack and defence. I think that midfield is just struggling and can't seem to get any sort of rhythm going in the Liverpool attack. So hopefully that can change for them in the near future. But for now, it's just too much of a risk, that Liverpool team, and Salah does have to go, unfortunately. So he has been sold for Bryan Mbeumo, who has been in great form. He is obviously the penalty taker for Brentford as well, and is guaranteed 90 minutes every single game. So I do think Bryan Mbeumo was a bit of a no-brainer, and being almost half the value of Salah in the game, that opens up so much funding for me to put elsewhere into my team. And when Bryan Mbeumo is also performing better than Mohamed Salah, it's just an absolute no-brainer for me there. And with their fixture run coming up looking very good as well, Brentford assets will be ones to look at, especially even the defence like Rico Henry. He is one that I'm also eyeing up in the coming game weeks as well. Gabriel was sold for Saliba. This was just basically an Arsenal for Arsenal swap to cover that Arsenal defence. Saliba, after looking at those first 2 game weeks, will be the preferred centre-back in the Arsenal team and will play pretty much the entire season now from what we've also looked at based off of the new Arteta system that we are looking at now. Saliba is that favoured player, and I do think he is the best option to go to if you are selling Gabriel, assuming you do have the funds. Saliba currently is sitting at 5.1 million, so he probably might be getting a price rise in the coming weeks. But yeah, Saliba is a no-brainer as well to bring in just to cover that Arsenal defence. The other option for me was selling Chukwuemeka, and I have done that, but having the funds in my pocket, I could have gone for any midfielder of my choosing, basically. Foden was one that I was eyeing up. Maddison also, although he was in crutches coming out of that previous game against Manchester United, so he does seem to be out for at least 1 or 2 weeks minimum. So hopefully he does recover soon for you owners out there. But I've gone for Ødegaard over Phil Foden, who were the 2 decisions to base 2 plays to decide from, basically. Ødegaard now being on penalties for Arsenal over Saka by the looks of things. Obviously that could switch back to Saka because we've only seen the one from Ødegaard, but he is a very offensive player. He will be getting 90 minutes as that captain most games anyway, and with their fixture run coming up, it does look decent enough to bring him in. Martinelli was the preferred option, but him being such a minutes risk and very well could be swapped out for Trossard at any point, he is just a bit of a risk, and I think Ødegaard is going to be the better player behind Saka to bring in that Arsenal attack. So again, a bit of a no-brainer there. And if I was so sure that Foden was going to start, I would have brought him in. Obviously, with De Bruyne missing, Foden's minutes are definitely increased alongside Alvarez as well. But Pep Roulette is just not something I want to play with this early on in the season, and that's why I've sort of opted for Ødegaard over Foden. If you are wanting to bring someone in this week, I think Foden is a very sensible choice. I'm just not willing to do it with my team just yet, and I'm very, very scared of Pep Roulette. So that's why I've made the decision of Ødegaard specifically. So that'll do for this video. I hope you've enjoyed. Obviously, this was just a team review going over my Game Week 2 score and then my transfers going into Game Week 3. But hopefully you've learned something or got some ideas from this. Let me know in the comments how you did in Game Week 2. I'm sure you beat my score of 35. If you didn't, also let me know in the comments below. Might give me a bit of a confidence boost after the week I've just had. But no, thank you all so much for watching. If you've ever got any suggestions, put them in the comments below as well. But yeah, now I'll see you in the next few days and see you soon.